Hey guys, this is normally my update video. This would also be my wrap up on MagFest this year, but that's going to wait until next month for updates on what I did this month, bottom of the description below. But this month is dedicated to my friend Justin Carmical, aka Jew Wario, who passed away last week. I'm going to talk about that later, but first, I've read a lot of comments about, his passing and that kind of thing. People kind of saying, he seemed like a nice guy, but they never met him and that kind of thing. And I just kind of want to reiterate, I've seen so many things online. There's everything that it's very consistent what people are saying online, about people that have known him and that kind of thing. Just that he was so genuine and so kind, and that's totally true. You'd be hard pressed to find a person that was that genuine and kind to people. The first time I met him at MagFest 2012, I believe. Also at E3 2012 and MagFest 2013 and 14. And I got to hang out with him one time, and it was always consistent that he made it a better event. When I first found out that he had passed away, I saw something online that said rest in peace, and when I first saw it, I didn't know that this was a real, that this was real. After I had seen all the comments, it was just shocking, kick to the chest kind of thing, and I think I was just in shock for a couple days. It didn't really hit me that about what had happened. Yesterday, I made a video that will end up being played on Retroware, part of it, and that's it kind of came rushing in at that time, I suppose, like what had actually happened. Something that shocking, sudden loss like that, it takes some time to sink in, and it's kind of sinking in now. Unfortunately, it's hard to talk about. Just to tell you about the first time I met him, because a lot of things people have been saying is he seemed like a really nice guy, but they never got to meet him. Those that knew him, they already know. What I'm saying right now is I'm not gonna add anything to this, I'm sure. Because it's super consistent what you hear from people online that knew him, that he was just the most genuine, nice guy ever. And that's about what I would say about him. I've got some individual experiences to contribute, but that's it. To the friends and family of Justin, my heart goes out to you. You're in my thoughts and prayers. You're in our thoughts and prayers. I can't imagine, because I didn't know him for very long, but it's still crushing. Luckily, this is my video and I can cut it. I'm going to have to do that quite frequently, I think. I think because I was alone during the weekend when I found out, and I could just kind of unplug and play video games and try to escape it, I was able to stay in this like a shock state, but talking about it is very difficult. But focus on the good things. When I first met him, and I'm going to restate some things that I said if you saw the other video, but in any case, the first time I met him, I was somewhat familiar with his work, and I was like, oh great, I get to meet someone else on Retroware. So, I was like, hey, nice to meet you. And, he just hugged me. He didn't shake my hand. He just brought it in for a hug, because that's just the way he was. He was instantly adopted me, basically. We were friends instantly, and that's what everyone says, and it's totally true, because you start talking to him and it's just like, oh, just the most warm, welcoming person that I've ever met. Just instant friends. And I've seen the same thing with him and other complete strangers. I mean, I'm on the same side as him, so there's that. But people that he doesn't know at all, he would still, nice to meet, like hugging people, instead of shaking their hand. Fans that would come up to him, he'd never met this person, and he would just stop everything he was doing. I was just, 3 weeks ago, we were hanging out at MagFest, and we were playing a video game. We were playing Umihara Kawase, which was one of the first games that, I saw him review. and you know, he's telling me about it and all this stuff, and how he thought the the backpack that flies off of her, like your extra lives are backpacks, he thought they were panties, which was really hilarious. And someone walks up and they're just all, oh, hey, you know, Juwario, really like your stuff, kind of, you know, shyly go up to him and stuff, and he went, oh, hey, you know, just done talking to, you know, the video games and stuff, just everything stopped. Its focus goes 100% on that person. It's just like, oh, that's, you know, awesome, you know, super modest. He was very popular with tons of people there, you know, all the time, people coming up to him, giving him stuff. You know, the year prior, someone gave him a scarf. They handmade him a scarf, and he was just floored by that, and he loved it, wore it all around all the time. Very dedicated fan base, you know, but people just come up, oh, hey, I'm familiar. Oh, you know me? You know, like tons of people know him, but he would still kind of always act like, oh, really, you're familiar with my stuff, you know, and he would talk to them, and he would make the focus about them rather than on him, you know, because they're coming up to him like, oh my gosh, you know, this famous guy, and he turned it into like, oh, you know, I'm interested in you, like, I want to know about you and what you're into. And they were, you could see like on their face, like kind of like, oh, you want to talk to me, you know, about it. It's great, you know. It was awesome to experience that. I know I'm bouncing all over the place. It's kind of hard to stay in a logical order, but I remember we were hanging out at E3, and you know, along with the Retroware guys at the time, you know, Pushing Up Roses and Psychotaku and Juwario, Justin, we were playing on our 3DSs, you know, Street Pass and that kind of stuff, and there's a really great photo of that. Unfortunately, I don't have that many photos, you know, in video, and unfortunately, I think I've lost some of the stuff that was on my camera. I'm trying desperately to find it right now, and I don't know if I can find it before I have to get this video out, but I don't think I found out until January 2013 at MagFest that, you know, Justin lived in Colorado. He lived in Colorado Springs. He's like an hour and a half, maybe just a little over an hour south of me. And so I was like, dude, you know, another person on Retroware that lives in my state, like, what are the chances? And I also found out that Michael Anthony of Still Loading was living in Denver. So I was like, let's have a get together, you know? And I talked to, you know, Justin about it. Still didn't know him all that well, you know? I mean, I, you know, felt like comfortable with him because of the way he just instantly adopts you and that kind of thing. But normally with someone, it would kind of be like, oh yeah, you know how it is. Like, if you see someone you haven't seen for a long time, or you meet somebody, you're gonna say, oh yeah, no, we should totally get together. People say that all the time. And I'm not saying that I do, but you know, people will say that all the time, and then do they mean it? No, you don't end up hanging out with them. It's like, you know, if you don't talk to certain people in high school anymore, you're not gonna hang out with them now, you know, so why are you friending me on Facebook, kind of thing. I totally felt like that, like, you know, hey, you know, we should hang out sometime, thinking totally that he would probably not want to. And he was like, oh yeah, we definitely should. And he seemed really excited about it. So I was like, all right, maybe he will hang out with us. So he was totally about it. And we tried for months to get together. I had some difficulties at the time trying to, you know, going through some things myself, you know, had a family member pass away at that time, and other things going on. You know, getting 3 people on the same schedule is difficult. He invited me in June of last year to go see They Might Be Giants. He's like, hey, you fan of Might Be Giants? And it's like, you know, I couldn't say that I am. I'm not that familiar with their work. And he's like, well, you know, forget it. Let's just go to like a Japanese restaurant, you know, or something like that. Or we go to the arcade or something. So we did both. We went to Kokoro, Japanese restaurant downtown, and then we went from there to One Up Barcade. And so the 3 of us got together. He drove an hour and a half up, just like, nah, whatever, I'll drop everything. And I know he's busy. You know, he's way more productive than I've ever been. And so you know, taking him away from whatever he's doing, he's like, yeah, totally, come right up. And he did. And it was a really great time. I really am bouncing all over the place because I also remember last year's MagFest, hanging out with him, you know, becoming familiar with him and his work and that kind of thing, and like how he was into Japanese video games, which is like kind of my thing as well, you know. He's more into like the importing side of it and that kind of thing, and I usually just don't have patience for that. But you know, his show, You Can Play This, you know, it's like, hey, this Japanese game doesn't have so much of a barrier to entry, so even though you only speak English, you can play this, you know? And I was like, that's awesome, you know, really getting into it and that kind of thing. And, you know, I found out that he spoke some Japanese and I spoke some Japanese, and I spoke broken Japanese to him and stuff. And we had fun doing that, you know, trying to do our best, like fake it, like, well, at least I was anyway, fake like I could speak Japanese. So that was fun. And really just, you know, hanging out with him 3 weeks ago, which is crazy. Just a little over 3 weeks ago, we were at MagFest, you know, and we were hanging out, playing Japanese video games, you know. We were checking out some games on Super Nintendo, and we played Umihara Kawase, which he's, you know, was just, I believe it was his second video in the You Could Play This series. And, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I love this game, that's why I did the video and that kind of stuff. And, you know, the thing with the backpack that looked like panties and that kind of thing, and it totally does. But, so we were talking about that, and just, you know, he's so passionate about everything, you know, not just video games, but like video games, food, candy, you know, really into everything. And he used that same passion in everything he did. You know, just talking to me, which I was like, okay, well, you know, you kind of know me, but not on like a, you know, the normal level where you would have to be that comfortable with a person. It was just like, oh, Eric, we're friends now, you know, out of nowhere. And that was how he was with anybody that came up to him. Anyone that would approach him and be like, hey, you know, I really like your work and that kind of stuff. Oh, really? You know who I am? And just instantly enthusiastic. Like, the mood when he was around elevated instantly, just because of the way he was. He was just, you know, this bright energy, and always smiling, always laughing. Just a really great guy. I can't do it justice. What he really meant to people and how he was. I could do my best, but it's not good enough, you know. And unfortunately, I didn't know him for very long, which is really unfortunate because we both live in the same state, you know. Everything that I've heard from people online, which I've repeated plenty of, I'm sure. It's funny because I would have the same thought. I would think, you know, this is what I got to say about him, and then I've been looking through comments and videos, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was gonna say. And you're gonna hear the same thing from people, you know, watching videos and reading things about him, because it's all true, you know. How else could it? It has to be true, because why would all these people that don't know each other have the same experience with him? You know, that's their objective take on him, and it's just true. The kind of person he was, and I just, you know, he's an hour and a half away from me. So I feel like we should have hung out more, you know. I'm always busy kind of thing. He's busy kind of thing. Like, you know, I can't say anything. It's all on me, you know. I should have made more efforts to hang out with him kind of thing. You know, it's pointless to you know, say that kind of thing, I suppose, because it is what it is, I hate to say. But, you know, I'm just glad that we got to hang out at least that one time here, just outside of a convention. And, you know, he's the same passionate guy, you know, talking about Japanese food. And, you know, he was talking about his show where he's teaching how to make Japanese food and that kind of stuff. Like, I wish I had that passion about anything. And he was like that about everything, you know, just really into everything that he talked about. Video games, candy, food, it didn't matter. People, you know, passionate about people, just anybody. You know, I can't really describe it. He's one of those people that you meet in a lifetime that is completely unforgettable. You know, you could never forget him if you tried, just because of the impact, you know. And it could seem like a small thing, but it had a huge impact. You know, hopefully I can make that clear. I don't know. I'm doing my best, but, you know, other people are more well-spoken than me that have said better things than I have, but, you know, I hope I do them justice anyway. There's something that we, you know, tend to say on Retro where, you know, we've gotten together at events and that kind of thing, and we're like, you know, we're more than like a website, you know, more like a family, you know. And maybe started off kind of sounding kind of like a joking thing, like, oh, you know, it's like we're family kind of thing, but it's actually true. And, you know, with him, you know, it feels like we lost a family member, you know. And not just retroware, it's just, that's just something that we've said. I mean, everyone has suffered a loss because of this, you know. People that, you know, friends and family, can't imagine. You know, people that have known him for years. You know, I knew him for a short time, and it's still a massive impact on me, so I can't imagine. People that, you know, that met him just simply in passing by at a convention and just stepped up to say hi, you know. You know, I've seen a lot of comments like that, like I met him one time, but he was like the nicest guy. And people that didn't meet him, you know, just know that, that everything that people are saying is true, you know, and you can see it in his videos, you know, his passion and his, you know, how genuine he was and how kind, you know, people that say he seemed to be this way. Of course you didn't know him, so that's what you have to say, but just know that it's true, you know, it didn't seem like anything, that's just what it was. And he was so appreciative of his fans, you know. People had bought him, you know, like a Wii U, like a whole deluxe Wii U, anonymously gave him this. And he went and picked it up and he's like, you know, oh my gosh, you know, that someone would do that for him. Like, that's the dedication of his fan base. And with reason, you know, they could see that in him. And they want to do that kind of thing for him. And that's amazing. And, you know, he would be that excited about the person that came up and wanted to talk to him. The person that made him a scarf, you know, which is awesome. And he was so into that, you know, and he wore it the whole time. I remember walking around, I was like, you know, like in a convention wearing a scarf, but, you know, now when he told me what it was, I was like, oh, well, now I totally get why you're wearing that. You know, aside from what I've said already, you know, simple things I'll remember about him is, you know, like the smile in his eyes and his, you know, his kindness and his laugh, which is hilarious. So that's a small part of Justin in a nutshell. I hope the description does him justice, and I'm sure it doesn't, but, you know, it's the best I can do. I would highly recommend checking out his stuff, and one video in particular, which I'm linking below. It's going to be the first one you see on there. It's hard to watch. You know, the reason it's hard to watch is you can see, like, in his eyes how genuine and caring he was, especially the nature of the video. It's linked below. Please watch it. It's really a great video. I think it describes, it speaks for itself. You know, everything I've said, you know, can instantly be explained just by watching that video, actually. So I can stop with my description, you know, just my personal experience with him, you know, my personal take. It's a little couple stories, I suppose, in there, but I just wish I could have spent more time hanging out with him. You watch the video, you feel like he's reaching out to you, you know, and it's a positive message. So it's not hard to watch for any reason other than it's just, you know, you can feel his emotion in it. You can see it. So as you can see, it's been hard to get this far in the video, and I have to talk about something I really don't want to right now, but it's important. It'd be doing a disservice if I didn't, so I'm gonna have to talk about it. I mentioned that Justin passed away last week. It was on Thursday, and I found out on Saturday morning. It's not the kind of thing I like to dwell on, but it's important to point out that he took his own life. For me, this is the third time someone I've known has taken their own life. I want to talk about one person in particular because the situation seems very similar to me, and I think it's important that everyone knows. I met my friend Jessie through another friend, and we kind of were like mutual friends kind of thing. And then after a while, you know, my primary friend would sometimes not be there, and he'd be like, hey, you know, Jessie would invite me over just to hang out. We'd play games, you know, drink some beers, have a good time. He was a really funny guy. He was a lot of fun to be around. He was always the super happy, you know, charismatic guy. That's what happens when you never cry. I can't remember the last time I've cried. I'm running out of Kleenex over here. I really did not want to do this, I didn't think I would, actually. I was holding it together pretty well until I started talking about it. Jessie was really a lot, very similar to Justin, you know, super happy, charismatic guy. You know, brighten your day kind of person. He told me one day, he was just like, man, I was hungover today and I was hating life, but he said it with like a big smile on his face, and I was like, well, yeah, that's a hangover. But the way he said it is just, you know, hilarious. I was like, okay, well, you don't believe him that he was hating life because he was, you know, because he had a hangover. That's what you do when you have a hangover. I think it's a prerequisite that you're hating life at that time because you're just, you're hungover, you know? But just the way he said it, it was just, I mean, I can't redo it, obviously, but it was hilarious the way he said it, because he just said it with a big smile on his face. He's like, man, I was hating life. I'm like, what? You know, two opposite things there. Like, you look like you're pretty much enjoying yourself, but, you know, he said that. And anyway, we had similar interests, video games and manga and stuff like that. And, you know, everything seemed great, you know. Jessie himself, I mean, it seemed like he had it made, you know? He was like the happiest person I ever met. You know, like he had a lot going for him, and not that these are prerequisites to be happy, but they don't hurt. You know, first of all, the guy was super charismatic, you know, everybody loved him. He was super happy, or, you know, he seemed super happy in any case. Hopefully he was. He, you know, was really good looking guy, you know, and like I said, not a prerequisite for being happy, but that can't hurt. He had a gorgeous girlfriend who worked for NASA, you know, like made in the shade, you know. I don't know, everything was fine for him, you know. And this is, by the way, you know, the same story I've heard from someone else, the exact same thing about someone else. Eventually, you know, he was living with my primary friend at the time, and then he ended up moving out. And you know, I happened upon him one day. I was going up snowboarding with a friend, and we got into, it was the craziest chance thing. A boulder had fallen on the road, and we were going up to the ski slopes, and we all got out of our car. It was a complete dead stop, and we were listening to music. I was like, man, I gotta stretch my legs. I got out, and I'm just walking around, and all of a sudden I hear, Eric, Eric. And I look, and like friggin' 25 yards away, this guy that I could barely see, like, you know, he had the shaved head like he always did, and he starts running up. I'm like, what, Jessie? And he's like, dude, what's going on? I haven't seen you forever. And, you know, when we hadn't seen each other for a really long time, you know, he was living with his girlfriend, and, you know, things were different and that kind of thing. So, you know, we didn't see each other anymore after, you know, initially when we were hanging out. And how's it been going, man? You know, and we got to catch up, and, you know, I'm telling you about, this is when he was with his girlfriend, you know, gorgeous girlfriend, worked for NASA. Come on. Things were going well, you know, and, you know, we caught up a little bit, and we're like, yeah, man, we should get together sometime. And you know how things work out. You know, I talked about that before, and nothing against him at all. It's just, you know, circumstances. People's lives are busy, and sometimes it's hard to connect. But that was the last time I saw him. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is probably a pain in the ass to watch, but I'm leaving it like this. I'm not cutting anything. But, you know, that was the last time I saw him alive, and I found out like a year later or something that he had taken his own life, and I don't know why. I know this video is about Justin, and I'm talking about someone else right now, but there's a point to the story, and that is that you don't know what people are going through on the inside, despite appearances. It's true for both of them, you know. The person I know that had a friend that was the funny guy of the group, the happiest guy of the group, you know, they were blindsided by this person taking their own life, you know, and it's the same in my other stories I told you about. You would never, ever have expected that from either of them, and that's the point. You can't know, you know. There's still a point to this. I'm getting to it. Sorry, slowly but surely. There's a point. Like I said, you can't know what people are going through on the inside. In the other video I did for RetroWare, I'm not sure what parts of it or part of it you'll see when it's all said and done. But one thing I said in that video, and I'll repeat it again if I have to, is that people wear masks, you know, everyone knows that, you know, almost everyone. You know, having met a bunch of people that make videos like this, you're a certain way in your video, and you might be somewhat different in public with other people, and then in private, that's when you get to see the real person, usually, you know, and they might still be putting on a mask, you know, and I'm not saying positive or negative, just different, you know, people have different personalities in different situations, and I think everyone's like that. But with Justin, you never got that. It was the same person in every scenario. The person you saw in the video, the person you saw in public is the same person that I spoke with in private, you know, and that's amazing, because some people will, you know, be just a little bit different, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, so you're acting in other situations and this is how you really are, okay. And you know, for better or for worse, you know, people are just different, and there's no slam on that, okay. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, I'm talking about a lot of people, okay? You know, I'm not talking about people on retroware, I'm talking about everybody in the world, okay? You know, people put on masks at work, in social events, in private, you know, it's all different. In any case, the point is that you really can't know always what someone is going through. Some people wear their heart on their sleeves, you know, maybe, I don't know, but I'm bearing it all for you right now anyway. I guess what I want to say is that it's important to ask how people are doing, you know, and mean it. It's easy to say, hey, how's it going, as a greeting, and I'm totally guilty of that. When I say how's it going, am I really looking for your answer? How is it really going? It's the same as saying, hey, howdy, how's it going? Same thing, you know. It's not really looking for like a full answer. Like, in fact, I'd be shocked if I said, hey, how's it going? And someone just like, oh, let me tell you this whole story about how everything's really going for me. That's not what you expect. You expect a, you know, superficial answer to that superficial question. I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of this. I totally am. And I need to get better. One thing I could say is that Justin, you know, I feel like I'm a better person for having known him, and I want to try and follow his example. You know, if he had asked how's it going, you know, and if I started explaining like how things were really going, he would listen, and he would drop everything and focus 100% of his attention on me. And I just know that because of interacting with him, and that's how he was. Because of even silly things like, oh, video games. He would be like, oh, I'm really interested in your video games, you know, and I'm not kidding. He would actually like show genuine interest and actually be interested in someone talking about their favorite video game, you know, and he's never heard of it or whatever, and I've just witnessed stuff like this, and he's just like, oh, wow, you know, that's awesome, I'll have to check that out. Genuine though, not just like, yeah, okay, I'll check that out sometimes. No. That he was very genuine about that. That's the kind of care that we need to show each other and ourselves, you know. Ask how people are doing is probably the first thing I would like to say. And, you know, your friends, your loved ones, strangers, I don't care. Justin would do it, you know. Justin has done it, you know. He would do that. The next thing I want to say is take care of yourself. Some people are gonna ask you that superficial, hey, how's it going? And it's so much easier to just say good. You know, when things are horrible, and I know that because I've done it. I've been doing it recently, obviously. You know, I have to go to work, and I can't tell people I'm crushed. You know, I deal with a lot of people, and in the position I'm in, you know, I could never do that. I could never do that, you know, and I don't like to talk about what I do, but, you know, let's just say if I did, it would be very uncomfortable for a lot of people around, you know. So I just say, yeah, good, you know, everything's great. Put on the mask and just keep going. If you're going through a rough time, talk to somebody about it, you know. Talk to a friend, talk to a family member, talk to someone you trust, and, you know, outside of that, talk to a professional. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's unfortunately, there's a taboo about depression, you know. suicidal ideation and that kind of thing. There just is, you know, and if there's one time that you need to not have a taboo about something and need to be able to talk about something, that's the one. So, you know, if you're afraid of talking to a friend or a family member, talk to a professional. That's what they're there for. They're not going to judge you. That's their job. They've built their profession on it. They believe in it, and they understand that people go through rough times, you know, and if you're having a rough time, the lesson we need to learn is, you know, and I don't know the specifics of, you know, what Justin's situation is, and I don't know why Jessie did what he did, or anybody, you know, I don't know. But the point is, you know, get help. You know, there's no shame in it. It's okay to be sad, you know, it's okay to be depressed, you know. I'm bearing it all right here on the freaking camera, you know, for the internet. People I don't know, you know, I know some of you, but I don't know everybody, and you know, it's okay because it's a part of life, unfortunately, sometimes, you know, and it's an emotion that you experience, sadness, you know, it's normal. It's like anger or fear or happiness or anything. It's normal, and you're not weak. That's important. That I want you to watch Justin's video that I put below. It's called "You're Not Stupid," and it was from the end of one of his streams, and I just saw it recently, and it's hard for me to watch it, you know, but he's got a personal message for you, and you should watch it. Now I want to revisit something I said though. You know, it's okay to be sad, and it is. You know, don't let anyone tell you different, like, you know, crying is for babies or men don't cry and that sexist bullshit. And that's fucking bullshit, by the way, and I'm not beeping that out because fuck that shit. And, you know, it takes someone strong to actually bear it all like this, you know. This is hard for me, you know. I don't want to fucking cry on the internet, you know. I'm going to get probably made fun of, but I don't care. You know, this is more important than that. You know, it's like I said, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be, you know, a bit depressed and that kind of thing. But when it hits the point where you can't handle it yourself, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your loved ones to see somebody about it, you know. And if you can't go to your friends or your family for whatever reason, see a professional, and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it seems insane that, you know, there's this kind of thought out there, and it's just this general thought, and you know, and you see it, where, you know, the perception is you're weak, and that's bullshit. You know, things become too hard sometimes to handle on your own, and that does not mean you're weak. You know, you're not everyone's built to just, you know, snap out of it and just be like, oh, okay, well, everything's cool now. You know, I'm telling you, because, you know, for one thing, this weekend when I found out about Justin, I was taking it fairly well, I think, actually. People called me immediately after, and they're like, hey, are you okay, man? You know, like, especially called me to find out how I was impacted, you know, and I was like, you know, it's messed up, man, you know, it's really messed up. And I was nothing like the condition I'm in now. I was taking it, you know, as best as you could, but you know what it was? I was in shock. You know, I think it was just, I was in shock. And now I'm messed up about it because, you know, it's hard to talk about. But like I said, just please, you know, something that you can learn from Justin, you know, just get help, you know, and again, I don't know what his situation was. Something we can learn from the situation, I suppose, is what I mean to say. You know, my friend Jessie and Justin, you know, there's other options out there, you know. That should be beyond the last option, because that's, you know, and this has been said, it's a permanent solution for a temporary problem, and it is. You can't take it back. You know, I've known people that have attempted suicide, and in the process they have regret, and before, you know, the pills kick in or whatever, in this case it was pills, immediately they were like, shit, what have I done? And they called for help, and luckily they were actually, they were saved. That person's still around, luckily, thank God, you know. Then I would know 4 people, you know. It's unbelievable. You know, that person got help, and they're fine now, you know. Maybe you need to get on medication, and that's okay. you know, it's not the end of the world, you know. That's a temporary solution for your otherwise potentially permanent problem, right? You know, you take, you know, whatever medication, if that's the case, you know, and that's fine. Or, you know, you just have therapy and that kind of thing. Those things are okay, you know, and there's a stigma about it. There just is, and I don't know why. And it's super unfair that one thing that we can't talk about is the one thing we need to talk about. Because if you don't, then there's nothing. Then there's nothing left. You know, I'll just tell you, myself, you know, I've had to go through the same thing personally. You know, I've actually seeked out help before, depression, and, you know, gotten on medication and saw a therapist about it and everything. And, you know, after 6 months, kind of able to kick it, you know. Every once in a while, you know, you feel down and that kind of stuff, and you just know that you can always get help, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let anyone tell you that there is. Don't let you tell yourself that there is, because it's fine. This is a silly analogy, but imagine you've got a really long rectangular box and it weighs 100 pounds. You're not gonna be able to lift that yourself. That's a stupid analogy I just thought of off the top of my head, but I'm picturing myself trying to go up and down the stairs. I try to bring an elliptical downstairs, an elliptical cycle, okay? Like half cycle, half elliptical. And I tried to bring it downstairs. It was at the top of my stairs and I was looking at it and I was like, you know, I should probably get my dad to help me with that. And you know, I live alone at my house and my dad lives like 20 minutes away. And I was like, I should probably get his help. And I was like, thinking about some, you know, I knew I was probably gonna have to tell someone about that, like, man, yeah, my dad came over and helped me, and people being like, you wuss, you know, you wuss, why didn't you just try and do it yourself? Be a man, and that kind of thing, right? So I went downstairs by myself, and guess what happened? I messed up my back, and I'm still seeing a freaking chiropractor for that right now. So there you go, lesson learned, right? You know, a big ass rectangular box that weighed probably 120 pounds, me lifting it up like this, going down the stairs, rocking my hips back and forth, through at my lower back. You know, if I had just asked for help and not had the pride, you know, I guess pride would have to be the thing that I had, and just gotten help, I would have been fine. You know, it's a dumb analogy, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, some things you physically cannot do on your own, and depression is a mental, and it can be a physical, you know, you have physical manifestations of the same thing. Like, you can't get out of bed, you know, you just can't do anything. And that's, you know, it's that kind of thing that it actually can manifest itself physically. You know, it's not just a mental thing. It's not all in your head. People will say things like that. You know, I suffered from anxiety for a while. I had panic attacks. And, you know, I had someone tell me, it's all in your head, man, you know, just get over it. And you can't. Like, try telling someone having a panic attack the world is not ending. It's the most crazy feeling ever. And it's the worst feeling ever. Like, you're guaranteed you're gonna die. That's the feeling, you know. And you cannot have anyone convince you otherwise. You know, the mind's a crazy thing. You know, it's not to be messed with. You know, if you're having anything like, you know, depression or suicidal ideology or anything like that, or anxiety, you know, they're both treated similarly, actually. Get help. Get the help you need. I guess I've kind of dwelled on this for quite a bit, but it's important, and I want you to really take this to heart, because if this helps anybody, then it's worth it, you know. I don't know, maybe you'll help someone, you know, because you'll go out there and you'll really ask how people are doing. And it's hard, it just is, you know, but get over yourself, you know. I'm trying to get over myself, you know. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, I'm far from it, obviously. And just try and be genuine, you know, try and actually care about people the way Justin did. That's really the message I'd like to send about him, what we can learn, and help others and help yourself. Care about others, you know, care about yourself. And if you need help, get the help you need. If you know someone that needs help, get them the help they need. I'm gonna put some links below. You can find a ton of information online. I'm not an authority on this, you know, that's super clear. But I just wanted to share some experiences with you. I really wanted to share my experiences with Justin, you know. Great guy, you know, that's an understatement, you know, like once in a lifetime kind of guy. You know, I hope I meet someone else like that, but there's only one Justin, and I'm better for having known him. You know, it's very privileged to know him, and you know, like I said before, you know, the world was a better place with him in it, and the world is a better place with you in it. Believe it or not, you know. Even if you don't care about yourself, I guarantee you someone cares about you, and their world will be much worse off without you. If nothing else from this video, I want you to believe that. You know, I could say, you know, I care about you, but I can't say it the way that Justin did, and he said it. You know, check that out. I linked it below, and it's a very moving video, and you will believe him when you see him. I've been going on for a really long time now. You know, I hate to end on a bummer. I just needed to emphasize how important that was. We need to learn from this. You know, we do, all of us. And you know, it'd be better, you know, to celebrate Justin's life. You know, I'm very thankful, like I said, very grateful to have known him. I'm a better person for having known him. I really believe that, and hopefully I can learn, you know, from him and try to be more like him, because the world would be a better place if more people were like that. That's for sure. Man, you cannot say a single bad thing about the guy, and that's, you know, it's a cliche and that kind of thing. You know, people say stuff like the kind of guy that would give his, you know, shirt off his back or coat off his back, jacket off the back, whatever the saying is. But it's totally true. And you know, people will pass sometimes, and then people say like these super inflated but very nice things about people. I'm not saying from anything from experience, but I just, you know, people will just kind of get that way sometimes. And with him though, it's just true, and it's hard to, you know, how can I prove that to you? If you met him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I wish you had gotten the chance to meet him, but it's really, the genuine article is what you've seen on video. And there's really no distinction between the two. The only thing lacking is, you know, him being right there giving you a big hug. And you can see it in the video, you know, the video below. Just watch it. You know, for more information about what I was talking about earlier, see the links below. First and foremost, watch the video with Justin. You know, you're not stupid. It's like a motivational video, really. Like, it's gonna stay with you forever when you watch that video. And you know, check out his stuff, because it's really funny and it's great. You're gonna learn a lot about, you know, if you've never heard of him, you know, please check his stuff out. You don't know what you're missing. You really have no idea. You know, I wouldn't be this moved if he was just any guy, you know. You know, you're gonna learn a lot about like Japanese import games, which is something that I've dabbled in, but I really haven't put in as much effort as I really need to. And I'm gonna dip back into his videos actually and discover more stuff actually. You know, he really made me want to play, well, Umihara Kawase, which I played with him at MagFest, and Boku Dracula-kun, which is like, you know, chibi style Dracula Nintendo game. It's adorable, but also very weird. That's one of my favorite videos of his. I'll link that as well below. But you know, if you check out his body of work, you'll be richer for it. You know, like I said, I wish I had more videos and pictures and things to share with you. I just don't. And what I do have, I can't find. So I'm gonna have to just find some things online and put them in here. But you know, check out his stuff, because you will gain from it. I guarantee it. And you know, I wish I could give you a big hug right now, but I totally can't. And I wouldn't be as good of a hugger as Justin was, because he really was. I really don't know how to end this video other than to say that you know, my heart goes out to the friends and family of Justin. If you need anything from me, if you're watching this video by chance, I'm in your state and I'm not far away. I'm a little over an hour north of you, and I'll make the trip in a heartbeat. And anyone else that needs, you know, you can message me. Miss you, Justin.